In this video, we're going to take a look at Lab 7 and what you need to do. Alright, so this is for CS151. Go to the lab assignments, Lab 7, and there's mostly you're going to be making these web pages. So you're going to make something that looks just like this. Okay, you're going to make an HTML to do that. And here I put in the file itself which tags you're going to be using to make it look the same. So H1, this is going to be an H1. This is a paragraph. There's a table with rows and data elements. Superscript is with the soup, and the table has a border 1. Alright, so that's the main goal, is to do each of those. There's 4 of them. Let's see if there's anything else. This is a table, and these are both images. This is an image, and this is an image. Ooh, I need to tell you where it's coming from. Just a minute. Okay, just fix this. So these are both images right here inside of a table, and these links here are where the images come from. So that's what you should use in your SRC inside the image tag. You don't have to type everything correctly. And then here we have a paragraph, an unordered list, a list item, and a list item. Okay, so that was one of them. Let's take a look at one of the other ones. This is another one with the table with images, and there again are the links to where the images come from that you'll have to use. And then the last image, the 4th file, is like this. Okay, and there are some interesting people that you could look up to read about if you wanted to. Let's see, we need to update this as well. Okay, let's reload that. So this is the list of tags that you use there. This is an H1 heading, an H2 heading, H3 heading, unordered list with list items, ordered list with list items. This is, let's see, this is an EM for emphasis, and these are quotes. So why don't we update that? Right, there we go. So those are the tags you're going to need. You want to make it look exactly the same again. Now the part that's different is we're also going to practice creating directories and setting permissions. So the first task in here is to create a lab07 directory, and I'll show this in my 39 account. So you should already have a public underscore HTML from your previous assignment. Now you make a lab07 directory. I already have one, so let's get rid of that. Okay, maker lab07. Alright, now if you look at your list, depending on what your settings are, by default that is not readable by anyone. So we're going to have to update the permissions. But here I'm saying that I want the permissions to look like this. So that's part of the points, is making it exactly match. And one way to do that is say everyone should be able to read and execute. Look at it again. Now there's just one difference. The group settings are in the middle. We want to take away write access. Group minus W. Okay, so that matches exactly now. And if I run my lab check, it says, okay, it says that actually there's an issue with my public underscore HTML. So if I look at, let's go back up. public or underscore HTML is supposed to be, it says it's supposed to be 755 instead of 775. That may not mean much to you, but I'll just say for right now you can actually use that as a parameter. What it's doing is each digit here, so the 7 is corresponding to the owner permission, and the 5 is for the group, and the 5 is for the other. I'm not going to say what that means right now, except that that'll make the lab check work if you just put that number in. Okay, so now it says there's the public underscore HTML was checked out okay in the lab07 directory, but now it's looking for these directories. And so those directories we want to create right under the lab07, and that's where the HTML files are going to go in. If we look at mine, so inside of the lab07 directory, I have a directory for 1. You're going to have an HTML file there. I have an image. And then in 2, you're going to have an HTML file. I have an image. Okay, and then each of the directories starts with dir. So this would be make directory dir lab07 1, but that's supposed to be inside of underscore HTML and lab07. So we go there, now we're going to make lab07 dir lab07 1 and run the lab check again. Okay, so it says it sees the directory, but it wants the permissions to be this, which is specified here. These directories, we're giving them all different permissions just as practice. So if you wanted to look exactly like this, that would be just what we did for the lab07 directory, or we could do what this thing says. So chmod 755. Okay, so dir lab07 1, and then run lab check again. So now it's not complaining about the directory anymore, and it's looking for this file. And that's the one that's supposed to look like, well, it's the 1. So it's supposed to look like this. I'll just copy my empty, and it's supposed to be called lab07.1.html. Lab check, lab07. Right, that's supposed to be inside of the directory. So okay, so if I go inside of that directory now, there's a file. Now it knows the file is there, it's looking for different permissions. And this here specifies what the permissions are going to be. This gives the numbers instead of the this view of things, and in another video I'll talk about what those numbers mean. But I can just follow whatever it says here to do. chmod, that number, and then the HTML file. Run the lab check again. Okay, so now it actually looked at the page and it said my output's not the same. We can use the lab check program to see that, but there's been a change to that page, so you're supposed to copy it again to make sure you have the latest version. So you can just highlight this, run that, and now I should be able to go to this page. Alright, so lab07, I'm looking at lab07 underscore 1. Let's check that. Alright. Okay, fix that. So now if you have the new one copied over, there's the reference site, that's the correct one, and then this is the empty, so that's certainly not correct. That'll look the same. So what had to change here in the program was now it needs to know that it's supposed to be looking inside of these directories. Alright, and there's no description here on what you're supposed to do for these. You're just supposed to make it exactly the same as the image. Each of the images has a list of the tags you're going to use, so you're also going to type that in your HTML file. So just to get started on the first one, I could do the first thing is going to be an H1 tag, H1 metric prefixes, H1, and then there's going to be a paragraph, note, and I have to get everything right, use tags, H1P, table, TR, TD, soup, table has order equal 1. Alright, and then if I want to run the lab check again, I need to run, first I need to run it here. Sorry, lab check, lab07. Alright, still has a problem with the file, but then if I refresh, there's what I have so far. So I can see at least that the first part looks okay. Okay, so the way the grading is going to work for this is in here. 1 point for making your lab07 directory, 1 point for doing these directories, 1 point for getting the permissions right. Now you need to do all of that before it'll even check your HTML files. So get that right. And then for each of the HTML files, there's 2 points for getting it correct. So 2 points for the first one, the second one, and then 1 point for getting the permissions correct there. That's another one that you really have to get the permissions correct. So you first get the permissions correct, and then you work on your HTML, and you get 4 points for doing the directories and the permissions. And you can see the due date.